Hey guys, welcome back once again to the weekly Coffee and Heroes podcast. Your host is always Alan from Coffee and Heroes in Belfast, joined of course this week again by Mr. Keith Miller. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. The weather has been great the past couple of days here in Belfast, which is not something we
Don't
see
don't
very
curse it.
often.
Don't curse it.
I
Don't
know
curse it.
that. I know. I had a pretty busy weekend. My wife's family, and there are many of them, were up. Were up staying. So we had like all the rooms in use and whatnot, and they are a force of chaos.
You've never
But
seen a man so happy as Keith when he popped into the store on Tuesday. I mean, he's always happy when he's in the store. It's one of his happy places, but he had fulfilled his familial duties and could properly relax. I believe the
yeah,
phrase was, if I didn't have karate tonight, I would have a pint in my hand right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's always great to have people in the house, but it's always great to get things back to normal as well. So because of good weather, as we say up in the North Coast, it's been a couple of queer drying days. So I've managed to get all the bedclothes and all the towels washed. So, my domestic duties have also been fulfilled.
Nothing
Doing a
sounds so middle-aged as those kind of statements.
I know, and I'm doing a bit of freelance work at the minute, as you know. So pretty busy with my Stendhal stuff. We released our first poster for Stendhal 16, coming up the first weekend of July. So there's some great artists playing, and I'm also doing a wee bit of work for a festival in Belfast, a street art festival called Hit the North, which is next week, but the start of May there. So pretty busy at the minute, but not too busy to get in and pick up my pull list. And I am finally caught up after the sort of the drop off over the 2 weeks I was in Spain.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's always satisfying when you get caught up on your pulls, and we've spoke about this many times before as well. We're a bit more picky with our pull lists now. We are a bit more sort of not just reading everything and everything and everything for the sake of it, but I think that makes it more enjoyable, and I think it makes it easier to keep up to date, not make it feel like
yeah,
a chore.
yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it.
I was thinking that actually just before we clicked on to record, Alan, I was just thinking how much, even over the past couple of months, I've been enjoying my reading because of that trimming of the pull list, and everything I picked up, uh, this week has just been killer. Like, there's been no. I was really looking forward to everything, and whenever we were whenever I was putting together my list of everything that I was looking forward to this week, I was like,
It's a
oh, but
long
I'm
list.
excited for this. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this. And even the stuff that I read last week, there was more stuff on it than so. The last 2 or 3 weeks have just been great stuff. It does
Although,
give you more bandwidth to really enjoy what's going on.
yeah, I mean, it's always good as well. We obviously cover comics quite in depth, whether it's going through the previews or whatever else, but I've probably seen you more in the last few weeks actually looking at the racks for what else is out.
Yeah,
When we were sort of picking up almost everything, there's no surprises on a weekly
yeah,
basis.
yeah.
But sometimes it is nice just to be like, okay, looking forward to all that. Let's have a wee look in the racks. And you
Mm,
might, like, for example, I know you picked up, Fury of Firestorm #1 this week,
yeah, yep.
which you might not have otherwise got. And I personally, we might get to it, but I personally read it and thought it was great, but
Hmm.
really pleasant surprise of an issue. So
Yep.
I think it helps with that. Although what we will find out when we jump into the read over the last week and really enjoyed section, just as you trim something, it starts getting good. But more on that later, of course. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned there quickly as well about the start of May being busy. Obviously, in comic book world, the start of May will be really busy because every year we have the event Free Comic Book Day. It's always the first Saturday in May. Obviously the date of it changes every year, but never the day and the time. So first Saturday in May this year will be the 2nd of May.
Second of me, yep.
So Free Comic Book Day, it's good to see that it still exists. So just very brief history just to bore you, but normally this is something that Diamond US organizes every year. It's organized through the previews catalog and they handle everything. Of course, Diamond US no longer exists. They went into liquidation last year, filed for bankruptcy. But other companies have stepped in. You know, Marvel even looked to slightly rebrand it. They're calling it Comics Giveaway Day. But just like City said will always be Yorkgate, this will always be Free Comic Book Day, not Comics Giveaway Day.
Wait, local reference there. I like it. Okay.
I'll always throw a few of those in. But yeah, I mean, there is stuff coming from DC and from the independent companies. There's always a Conan Free Comic Book Day issue. There's always an Energon, since it started, an Energon Universe one. They're all still branded Free Comic Book Day. So basically, what the idea for Free Comic Book Day is, it's a day to reward your customers. It's a day to reward all those people who keep this wonderful hobby alive, this wonderful art form alive. So the way it works is we'll have maybe like 70 different titles. I think this year it's trimmed slightly. I think it's around 60, just because of the reorganization. But on the day, these are titles that will get you excited for their upcoming releases. They might preview upcoming events. Certainly in the case of Marvel and DC and the aforementioned Conan ones are always preludes to big events. So every store does it differently. Some stores do it, just come in, lift your free comics, walk out. Some stores do it, you have to spend £50 to take anything, etc., etc. It's up to the stores how they do it. We always do it the same way, and we have done since day dot. Uh, Buy anything in store, chocolate bar, cup of coffee, anything at all, take a free comic. Spend £5, take three free issues. Spend over £10, take as many as you want. The one caveat and the one rule that we do have is that you don't take multiples of things. The idea is to get as many of these into people's hands as possible, ensure people can get a variety of stuff. We do order big. We've ordered 150 of each Marvel and DC title, for example. We've ordered, I think, 100 of the Energon universe stuff. So
Yes.
we do pick and choose our stuff. If it's like there's an Archie comic, for example, we ordered 25, which is plenty because Archie's a bit niche over here. But obviously the Marvel DC stuff people come straight in for. So we also open at 9 o'clock as opposed to 10 o'clock. So I genuinely can't convey just how busy Free Comic Book Day is. It's one of the few days of the year we have to cap lines. We have someone on the door. We let a certain amount of people in at a time because otherwise you genuinely would be arched the elbow. You would not be able to move. But the other thing we do on Free Comic Book Day, as well as the free comics, of course, is we do lots of discounts. So we do the same thing every year. It's always proved popular. It always means people know before they come in. But we do the same thing every year. So it's 10% off all graphic novels, 10% off all omnibuses, 20% off all comic packs, 20% off any merchandise or figures, and 20% off any CGC books. So if you've had your eye on something for a while, it's a bit more expensive. Always keep Free Comic Book Day in mind, and you'll get a nice little discount on it. Omnibuses always sell well, for example. We
Hmm.
already mark our omnis down, but a further 10% on the day is
Mm.
always appreciated as well. So yeah, get down as early as possible for your choice of the best stuff. But what we do find is we're busy all day, and hopefully the numbers we've ordered in, we should have stock for most of, if not all day, in terms of the free stuff. But again, it is while stocks last, so we can't 100% guarantee if you come at 3 o'clock that we have the Conan free comic book day issue or,
Hmm.
whatever else.
First
So
come,
yeah,
first served.
first come, first serve. But again, we always do try to manage expectations and manage the numbers we expect by making sure we do have stuff throughout the day. I mean, I've had people come around before at 10:30 in the morning and they're like, oh, FP are out of this or out of that or whatever. But the other thing I will say just very quickly is that, and we always champion this every free comic book day as well. If you're a comic book fan and you love this stuff as much as we do, don't just come to us, go to all the stores because every store will have different discounts or different promotions. Every store will do it differently. So, come to us absolutely if you can. We'd love to see you, but go to Forbidden Planet, go to Comic Book Guys, go anywhere that does. Go to We Sell Heroes and Cumber. Just go around all the stores and get them as most benefit of the day out of it as you can. Because as I say, Free Comic Book Day is all about the fans and it's all about rewarding those fans. So yeah, big day as always. It'll be Saturday, 2nd of May. Free comic book day, and again, we open from 9 o'clock as opposed to 10. The one thing is, you might come down at 9 o'clock and Smithfield looks closed. Sometimes the security guards can be a little lax with opening up. It might be 2 minutes past 9 by the time they open. But as soon as those shutters are open, we will be ready to to accept you. So,
Yeah, and
um,
speaking of which, you got a lot of those in this week because you had a huge delivery.
yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before. We're in a fortunate position where our community's growing, our customer base is growing, and of course, you want to be getting big deliveries and loads of new stuff people are excited about. But it was bigger than usual this week. Talking about Free Comic Book Day, I mean, normally they send the shipments for Free Comic Book Day over 4 weeks. So say you ordered 1,000 of the free comics, and I should specify as well, I say free comics, we do pay for them. We pay a very reduced rate on them, but we do pay for every single issue. So that's why stores, want it to be as
Yeah.
busy as possible to make stuff back and all the rest. But yeah, normally they split over about 4 weeks. So say you have 1,000 free issues coming, they would send 250 per week. So in terms of processing, it's manageable, this and that. No, they sent it all in one go this year.
Yeah.
Uh, They sent it all at the same time as Spider-Man, Superman out this week. Obviously, a big title. I'm changing something in store. I know, shock horror. There will be a new compact section coming soon, so I did a big order for that stuff. So it just happened to be everything all at once. And then, of course, it was a day late as well. So I had to work through the night to get everything ready. Anyone who came in on Wednesday, apologies, I was not there. I had to get Chris in because I was working until 5:30 in the morning, getting pull lists done, graphic novels done, single issues done, variants labeled. You know, I brought it on myself, obviously, by always being a bag and board type of business. You know, I did from day dot, and that will never change. But it does require a lot of extra work. And as I say, normally deliveries come on a Monday, and it's fine. 2 days is enough to turn it around. But when it comes at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're slightly like. I even had to put into like our group chats and stuff. I was like, if no one needs to come down today, don't be popping in. And I had a really busy day, which is great, which is what you want. But yeah, no, getting pulls done. We're closing in on 300 pull lists now. It's massive, and we thank every single person who walks through the door and sets one up with us. But it is a lot of work, and getting it all turned around because I never want to be the kind of place that's like people walk in at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday like, oh, sorry guys, it's not ready. Oh yeah, delivery was late.
Mm,
I will always work as hard as I can to make sure it's ready. I like the excitement of people coming at 10 a.m. and not being disappointed and all that kind of stuff. Although I should say for the record, the next few weeks we're coming into May. There's always May bank holidays, so there will be 2 days in May, I believe, where it will come on a Wednesday. But as ever, just keep an eye on the social media stuff, and I'll always
mm.
keep you guys up to date on that. So
And
yeah, it was a big push to get it done, but it all got done.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely a late one for you. I could see the sweat dripping off you whenever I was in to see you. Always offer to give you a hand, but of course it's kind of nearly a one man job, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's like I always have at least three or four people, yourself included, who are always quick to say, like, happy to come down and give a hand for a couple of hours. You did help me a couple of weeks ago with some bagging and graphic novels and stuff. But there is a lot of it is a one person thing to do.
Yeah, you've got a process. You've got a process.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And me then having to interrupt that process to direct people is almost slowing me down. So, it's my own work ethic, I suppose, that,
Yeah.
gives me that amount of work to do, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I always like the idea, and I say this all the time, just in case anything goes wrong or something's missing on a pull list or whatever, the buck stops with me. It's not like, oh well, such and such did that this week or such and such. So I always like it to be the buck stops with me, and then therefore it's just much clearer when you're communicating with people if you need to sort any problems out. So yeah, big push to get it done. I won't lie, when I left yesterday, I did not even take my pull list home. I did not want to look at another comic for the day. I
Always a
took my
danger. Always a
yeah, I
danger.
I took my son 10 pin bowling for the first time, which he really enjoyed. We had a bit of a family day, and then I slept from 6 o'clock to about 8:30. Then I woke up, put my son to bed, and as soon as he was in bed, I went back to bed and slept through. So
Lovely.
I'm feeling
Lovely.
fresh today, and I picked
Good.
up
You're
my pull
looking
list
fresh. You're
today.
looking fresh.
Well,
Well,
thank you. Well, thank you.
from growth on your side, which is great to see. Probably the biggest comic story of the last week or so has been a little bit of shrinkage on the Disney side, with Disney and Marvel. Well, Disney announcing layoffs right across the board to the tune, I think, of about 8% of staff, 8% layoffs, which is rough. Something I've recently been through myself, so I know personally how it can hit you. But so obviously that includes everything right across the films, the comics, the TV shows, the marketing, the whole thing, the whole and extends right beyond Marvel. But from our point of view, Marvel is the one that really is what we're interested in, and what we're really interested in is the comic side of it. So from what we can see from sort of most recent reports, there's been a number of sort of swiping
Editors.
cuts
Yeah.
to the editorial staff. So that includes Marvel Comics editor Devin Lewis, who's worked at Marvel for 13 years. And I think interned 2 years before that, and most recently worked on titles like Moon Knight, 1776, Spirits of Violence, Daredevil, Morbius, and Punisher. And that includes the recent Daredevil relaunch by Stephanie Phillips and Lee Garbett, which broke
Which is their biggest
records
launch
for
in
the
ages as
character.
well.
Yeah, absolutely. He was also responsible for the Daily Bugle Funnies or Daily Bugle comic section and some of the Marvel anthologies that Ty Templeton drew. So that's kind of rough. We also lost editor Darren Shan, who's been at for 10 years, senior editor Laura Beeson, who's been at Marvel for over 6 years, Timothy Chang, who's been at Marvel for 9 years, and quite significantly, Senior Vice President of Print Sales and Marketing, David Gabriel, who's been at Marvel for 23 years. Now, that's fairly significant because a couple of weeks ago, he made some announcements at American Comic Cons about sort of pulling back on some of the things that have been affecting retailers, such
Hmm.
as the blind bags and early release sort of stuff. So now I know that might work a little differently from you for you than it does for American retailers, but there's been some I guess issues with variants appearing in blind bags and people then who actually want that particular variant not being able to get it. If you go searching for a particular, not that I'm particularly interested in that, uh, you know, but in addition, there's been some stores in America that, obviously stores get a lot of some of their stuff early and some of them sign up for an early release and then that stuff appearing on eBay for inflated prices even before it can be in the hands of normal punters. So I
Yeah.
think he banned
S-
23 stores, something like that,
I
for
from doing
because
midnight releases and stuff
yeah,
like that.
exactly. So he seemed to be David Gabriel seemed to be uh, a vice president who was in it for certainly from his announcement there was in it for the retailer to try and and I don't know if it was that announcement that got him canned, but
Mm.
but yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of rough. So he managed not only the marketing and sales but also the publication schedule. Global licensing of comics and had a hand in developing new lines outside of its core superhero universe. So one of those people who was a strong, silent but steady hand and maybe pushing things in the right direction, realizing that things were wrong, maybe listening to some of the concerns that fans have had. So that's a bit of a rough one. On the more movie TV side, uh, they also lost Andy Park, who was Marvel Studios director of visual development. He revealed that he's left the studio after 16 years as a result of the layoffs. And that's interesting. He joined the studio in 2010 and started by working on Captain America.
First Avenger.
Yep, before creating the concept art for multiple movies. So, you know, the, apparently there's a skeleton crew left in the visual development team, with people being hired more on a project by project basis. But with him going, that could really change the visual look of the Marvel movies going forward, as that team was really responsible for that
Do
visual
you
look.
think will it change the visual look, or, and this is me being really cynical here,
Go
and
ahead.
that this is not a pop at Disney Marvel because every movie studio will start doing this, or is this a case of we now have a library of how these movies look? Let's bring in AI to.
Man, I
That's to me where it's going.
I seeing layoffs. So layoffs come in cycles. You know what I mean? This time of year is always layoff time, and Christmas is always layoff time. But this next year is, according to the experts, is apparently the year that we are going to see across the world the impact of AI with regard to redundancies.
Yeah.
We're going to see apparently massive redundancies next year across the board because of AI. I think this is the tail end of that. This layoffs we're seeing at the likes of some of our local universities that are letting 15% of staff go. I think this is all the pointy end of AI. For sure. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously been a lot of blowback on AI when people are putting out, say, for example, artwork, but they've used the AI that are trained on the models of, say, certain artists. So they'll
Yeah.
input an instruction, draw Cyclops in the style of Jim Lee meets Greg Capullo, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing that it's always been a very gray area legally because it's copyrighted works. But in this case,
It
Marvel owns
shouldn't
all
be gray. It
Disney
should
slash
be black and
Marvel
white.
Disney Marvel own all the copyright on the visual language of their movies, so they can be
Uh-huh.
like, well, we've trained AI models on the first 15 years of the MCU. Why do we
Yeah.
need?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a terrible way to go. I mean, the whole point of
It
movies is
is.
human connection. You know, it's not for
Well,
something to just
yes.
look cool. It's human connection. It's crafted by imagination, crafted by us. So it's really sad that that does feel like the way it's going. And as you say, it's starting to filter into education. It's starting to filter into It's become a very different podcast all of a sudden.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it is definitely scary, 100%. And
Yeah,
I think that those higher ups are looking at these things from in the wrong way. They'll start be thinking, oh no, people don't buy comics because it's this person drew it. They draw because the art looks cool. And then suddenly you'll start seeing AI drawn comics and imagery, and it's a scary sort of line to go down.
mm,
But you know, I find it hard in this world where they literally the next day after these layoffs did a
yeah,
presentation gloating about 33 billion at the box office,
yeah,
and
exactly.
these
Yeah,
and these people were integral to that. I mean,
yeah,
from first Avenger on, I mean, they'd obviously done Iron Man at that point. I think Incredible Hulk didn't do that well by comparison. But for me, Captain America First Avenger, and again, it's just my opinion because I'm not a huge Iron Man guy, but First Avenger to me was the first semblance of we're going to start getting a linked universe here.
yeah,
Cap's in
yeah.
the modern day. There's Nick Fury has got out of his car. Can I speak to you about? Obviously, they did it as a post-credit scene, in Iron Man as well.
Yep.
But the visual of Captain America, like First Avenger,
It
I
was
love
great.
that
It was
movie. I
brilliant.
still
Yeah.
think that's the best Marvel origin movie. Love
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
I'm similar to yourself. I'm a big fan of pulp heroes and 1930s, 1940s aesthetic and all this kind of stuff. And
And
Cap's just a
sticking to the source material.
absolutely, right down to the point of how can we get Cap's original outfit into this, and they did it in an interesting way with them doing
Uh-huh.
like all the pep talks and the rallies and all this kind of thing. So I just find it incredible in this world where you're gloating about 33 billion at the box office and gloating about paying Robert Downey Jr. 100 million to come back and play Victor Von Doom. And it's so tone
Yeah,
deaf.
yeah, it
It's
is.
it's
Yeah, it absolutely is.
unbelievable.
But that's the corporate way. That's the corporate
Oh,
way.
absolutely. Well, that's what I'm
They're
saying.
they're
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 laying
they're
off
learning
they're
the wrong
laying off
lessons.
people while talking about growth. You're like,
Yeah.
catch yourself on. Catch yourself on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think maybe that David Gabriel loss is a rough one. I worry often um about the overinflation of the value of our industry as a result of things like blind bags and variant covers. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Obviously, whenever I buy a comic, I'm in it for the story. Um, so that feels like sort of almost overinflation to me, and I worry that it will lead to a 90s style collapse. Uh,
I think as long as
but
it's done in moderation, I think it's okay. I don't think it's a bad thing that the comics industry, I mean, we're purists, we're there for the love
mm,
of the story, but I don't think it's a bad thing if they can attract different markets as long as they
yeah,
don't prioritize those other markets. As long
mm,
as like the whole blind bag thing, I've had guys walk in and buy 10 off the racks. I've had guys come in. There's people like yourself who are like less than zero interest, not what I enjoy about this industry. I think being able to attract like a bigger market of people who are interested is not a bad thing because
yeah,
then if that Daredevil blind bag program generates that success for that title, that might allow them to take a punt on a smaller title. Oh, we can use some of the money we made from that and give these guys a chance to do this small five issue
mm,
miniseries. Or
mhm.
as long as it's filtered in the right way, I don't think it's a bad thing. Um, I mean, so when I was working through the night the other night, I was on Whatnot for about 6 hours because
Right,
Scott Snyder was doing a Whatnot, like a live one
yeah.
with comic sketch art in America. And what he was doing was incredible. So he basically had all his comps from 2 years of Absolute Batman
Oh, someone announced that. Yeah.
and he was giving them away. He
Uh-huh.
wasn't selling them. They sold a small portion of them because that money was going to charity. But he literally was doing giveaways. People were entering draws, and I entered every single one of them and did not win a thing. But I didn't care. I love the idea of it because those are normally issues that secondary market becomes expensive and people.
hmm
But I don't mind the blind bag thing as long as it's moderation. I don't want to see every title with a blind bag. Do it for a launch of a big book.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I think that I'm sort of the same about variants. I was all right when there was 5 or 6 variants for a first issue, but now there's A, so many first issues, and B, every title has a variant. Whether it's a 3 or a 4 or a 5, you're like,
Yeah.
come on, lads, catch yourself on because you know you're not seeing the real value here.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean,
that's
people
an
who are in the
aside.
variants are an interesting bunch. I mean, I'm guilty of it a little bit myself. If Scotty Young does a cover, I'll collect it. If Shannon Meyer does a cover, I'll collect it. But there are people who, like, I even have customers like this, and I certainly won't name names, but I even have customers who will proudly tell me that they do not read the comics, but they'll keep them in a box, and they're like, "Oh, I get variants for every issue because I love having the collection," and I'm like, "Why do you not just
Okay.
collect? Why do you not just collect trading cards? Not that I want that customer to leave
Well,
comics,
yeah, I
but
mean that's a very different business model, trading
yeah,
cards and comics, but variants are definitely crossing that line with it, you know.
no,
Anyway,
absolutely. I mean, you only have to look at this week. I mean, I did all the variant covers for Spider-Man, Superman, and that issue came with, and DC were the same. They did the exact same thing. So this one's the Marvel release,
hmm
and there was genuinely 30 variants, you
well,
know. But
crazy.
different things appeal to different people. And
Absolutely.
but yeah, no, the Marvel layoffs thing is a little bit scary.
Mm,
I do kind of think on the comics side of thing, it's been coming a little bit,
yeah.
just because, I mean, we've talked about it before, with DC now, even when DC were enjoying a really good moment there with the absolute launch, Marvel were still the number one in the
hmm
marketplace.
hmm
It was announced last week for the first quarter of this year, they're number two in the
They've
marketplace, and
overtaken, yeah, for the
that
first
has
time in
not
in
happened
donkey's years.
in, I don't
Yeah,
think it's happened since the new 52 launched.
yeah.
So you're going back to like 2012 for that. 20, no, in
Uh-huh.
fact, 2012. You're going back to like 2008 for that.
Yeah,
So I can understand restructuring at Marvel, but I didn't expect a blood. I didn't expect like you're all out. I sort of maybe thought people would be moved around positions, whatever. Because it
yeah,
is sad to see people who have worked there for 9 years, 12 years, 20 years, whatever. No, you're out the door. So I do think a wee bit of a restructuring was coming at Marvel, but
yeah.
yeah, I didn't expect at this level,
And
I
is
would
it
say.
is it the right way to do it? Is it the people who have been there 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, or is it the people who have been there fucking 40 years that they should be thinking about?
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, you look at like an editor, it's been there 9 years. Yes, they've been overtaken in the marketplace, but they were ahead in the marketplace for eight and a half of those nine
Yeah,
years. You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? It
Exactly,
shouldn't be just
exactly.
as soon as it turns, you're like, oh, well, you're out the door. It should be right. How can we turn this around and what worked for us in the
Who are
past?
who are the people to help us do that? Anyway, um, also, new trailer.
Yeah, let's talk about something positive and something something cost effective. I think some executive out there is listening to my ramblings about where superhero movies should go. Yeah, there was a trailer dropped yesterday for Clayface, which is a new movie set in DC Studios' new era, set in the Superman, Supergirl, um, sort of continuity, so to speak.
So it's set
And
it's set in that continuity
it's
rather
set
than
in
the
that
Batman
continuity.
continuity.
Yeah,
Right.
this is not
Okay.
this is our first look properly at Gotham in this new continuity. Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, the Matt Reeves stuff is going to stay very
Separate.
secluded.
Okay.
Obviously, they did the Penguin TV show, which was great.
Uh-huh. It was great, yeah.
But I've said it for a long time that I wish comic book movie studios would do, instead of doing one $200 million movie that needs to make 700 million at the box office just to be profitable, they should make five $40 million movies. They should
100%
do.
agree. And not only that, but I think they're kidding themselves. I think they're kidding themselves if they think that post-COVID movies are going to make what they used to make. It's a
I
it's a
still
whole
think
different it's a
I
whole
still
different
think it can happen. I
ball
think
game.
Doomsday will make big money.
Yeah.
But if you make every movie an event four times a year, it's no longer an event.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas if you do lower budgeted movies but build to a big event over a 3 year period, you then have an audience from each of those smaller movies that all come together for the big movie. But for me, Marvel's problem started to be that, see, when it was two movies a year, it was perfect. It was great. You had one at the end of the year, one in the
Yeah.
summer. And then suddenly it became three movies, and then it became four movies. And that instantly dilutes the product. But instead of doing that, why not make these sort of $40 million movies? I always use the example of like make a Lois Lane movie set in the Superman universe and it's an investigative journalism piece. Make a Commissioner Gordon.
Just adapt Greg Rucka. Job done.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Gotham Central, do Gotham Central as a movie,
Uh-huh.
follow the cops in Gotham, but don't have Batman in it.
Yeah.
So that looks to be what they're doing with this movie. So
So what we're getting here is the real introduction of Gotham in the James Gunniverse,
yeah,
but without him with the ears.
exactly. And that to
Okay.
me is what they should do because I don't care what people say, the general public are easily confused. So if you have two different Batmen at the same time, they'd be like, why are there two different people playing Batman? Whereas if you have your Matt Reeves verse and you finish that and then introduce your Batman. But that doesn't mean you can't set up Gotham in the meantime. That doesn't mean you can't set up the Rogues Gallery or set up Dick Grayson or set up, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So for me, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
it's interesting with Clayface. I mentioned it to you before we obviously started recording, and you were like, oh, not that bothered, whatever. But then once you found out about the talent involved with it,
Yeah, yeah.
suddenly your interest was raised. So Clayface, it's going to be a body horror film, which is kind of what it should be with Clayface. I mean, we, I'm sure you remember it well, the One Bad Day Batman event
Yes,
that they did.
absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Clayface one was fantastic.
Yeah.
But so this one, it's coming out this September. It's directed by James Watkins, but the name that caught the eye was Mike Flanagan is writing this.
Yeah, Mike
So
Flanagan, well known certainly by me as well. He did that House of Usher recently, but Stephen King sold him the rights to his magnum opus, The Dark Tower,
yeah.
for $1 in order that because
As Stephen King likes to do with his
yeah,
properties.
exactly.
If he
So
believes in a filmmaker, he did it with Darabont for like Shawshank
that's
and
right. Yeah,
De
that's right.
Palma for Carrie and all that kind of stuff.
So Mike Flanagan will be writing and the Imagineer for the actual Dark Tower, not the movie that was released a little while ago, which was terrible and did nothing for us, but a series of movies and TV shows that will make up the entire series. So excited about that, and he has worked with Stephen King and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, interested in Mike Flanagan for sure.
Yeah, so he's writing, then James Watkins, he's directing. He's an English filmmaker and he's known for sort of horror movies, things like Speak No Evil and Eden Lake and Woman in Black and stuff like that. So this to me is an interesting choice. Instead of having to get a superstar director and a superstar cast to promote this movie because we need to make $500 million dollars at the box office, it's almost like an independent movie. And the trailer I thought looked really promising. It's definitely not veering away from the horror aspects
Hmm.
of this character. Because let's be honest, all the villains in Batman are all violent sociopaths. So why would they be PG rated movies about, oh, this poor actor who got disfigured? It should be like these are violent sort of
Yeah, yeah,
criminals.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the imagery of it looked great. It
Looks as
was
you say, very body horror.
it was
Very
only
cool.
a minute long trailer, which I'm
Hmm.
perfect with. And I don't want to see another trailer now. I'll go and see this when it comes out. But one trailer is enough for me, as we've discussed many, many times. So yeah, it looks really interesting. So for DC, I mean, that's two interesting movies coming out this year now. You've got Supergirl in the summer, and then you've got this in September. And then Marvel, the other side of that coin, they have two big movies this year. Obviously, new Spider-Man coming in the summer, and then Doomsday in December. Though they did announce last week with Doomsday that they are not moving that date, and it comes out at the same time as June 3.
Oh, interesting.
Now, here is my question for you, Keith. You can only see one of them opening weekend
Interesting. Hmm.
because I know you're obviously a massive Marvel guy, but I know you're a massive Dune guy, especially
Yeah,
these movies.
if I could only see one of them. Oh, in this case, I think it's going to have to be Doomsday. I think.
Because does Dune
Uh,
not wrap that up? Is that not going to be a trilogy as well?
that is a trilogy. It will wrap it up, but if I could only see one opening weekend, it would have to be Doomsday. Well, because obviously we'll want to talk about it, and given that you haven't watched any of the Dune movies yet,
Okay,
uh,
I will place this on record right now, okay?
you've already placed it on
No, no,
record.
no.
Give me talk no
No,
more.
no.
Talk no more.
I'm gonna place this on record and this gives me literally 8 months, okay?
Okay.
I promise to watch Dune and Dune Part 2 before the third one comes out, and I'll see the third one in the cinema, providing the first two are good, which I have every faith they will be,
All
based on
right.
the
Well,
cast
you know what?
and everything else.
I've been hurt by this agreement before, Alan. So
Well, I gotta get you back to the Mission Impossible movies,
yeah,
so
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So
but
yeah,
yeah, no,
I
it
mean,
looks strong for the rest of the year movie wise, certainly.
man, there's a couple of really good movies. Sort of one marginally superhero related. I'm really looking forward to Masters of the Universe on 5th of June. I think this weekend I'm going to see if I can see the Michael Jackson movie. That looks excellent.
Mhm.
So there's a bunch of stuff coming up
Yeah,
for
plenty to look
sure.
forward to. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of things to look forward to, obviously we'll jump into the comic side of things. We spotted where we chatted about it obviously in the beginning. It was a big week, big delivery, lots of titles, and you also said that you were basically looking at your pull list, going, "Yep, looking forward to that, looking forward to that,
Yeah,
looking forward to that."
buddy.
I mean,
And it's
without a
funny
doubt,
because a lot of the things that you've put in your list, I'm also looking forward to.
Yeah, I do like the little brackets. Yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
I mean, without a doubt, the biggest release this week is, Spider-Man, Superman. So we've been fortunate enough in the last year and a bit, as Keith magnificently flashes it there. We've been fortunate enough in the last sort of year and a half that DC and Marvel have, from a publishing side of things, have certainly come together to release crossover issues. Now, I know these aren't everybody's cup of tea. Looking at you, Stuart. But, Batman, Deadpool, and Deadpool Batman were great. Big sellers, did well. And then this year was the 50th anniversary of the original Spider-Man Superman
Mm.
crossover. So the key thing is always to let people know that these are two different issues. So in March, we had Superman Spider-Man, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The main story, especially Mark Waid and Jorge
Yep.
Jimenez, I thought was fantastic.
And that was the DC side of things.
That was the DC side of things. So now we're on to the Marvel side of things. So this one published by Marvel Studios, and this involves creators such as Jason Aaron, Brian Michael Bendis, Jeff Johns, Joe Kelly, Jeff Loeb, Brad Meltzer, and more. Artists on this, you've got the likes of Jim Chang, Russell Dodderman, Gary Frank, Pepe Larraz, Marcus Martin,
I
Phil
love
Notice.
I love how they've advertised it in the solicitation. Whipping away.
Well, I mean, those are the kind of phrases that I'm always surprised when I see them. I'm like, has this been used before? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved in the DC one, Superman, Spider-Man, that Spider-Man dodges something, and then he goes, "Well, with great power comes great response ability."
Ability.
And I was like, someone's bound to have put
Yeah,
two and two
brilliant.
together before, but I don't think they have.
And I mean,
But
this will be the same format, I guess. So the main story, which will take up probably about more than a third of the issue, is
yeah,
the Brad Meltzer, Pepe Larraz, Spider-Man, Superman against Lex Luthor and Norman Osborn.
yeah.
And then I think then we've got Spider-Man Noir and Encountering Golden Age Superman by Slott and Martin. And then we have I think we got the Super and Spider families against each other by Johns and Frank. We've got a symbiote horde invading Metropolis during as a new War of the Realms at night. That's the Jason Aaron Russell Dodderman one, and that's the old Thor team. Fantastic. We have John Henry Iron Steel clashing with the Hobgoblin and I think that's Louise Simonson and Todd Newick. We have a campus crossover between Gwen Stacy and Lana Lang by Kelly Ann Ramos. And we have Miles Morales Spider-Man teaming up with Superman by Bendis and Pichelli, who, of course, the creators of Miles Morales. So that'll be interesting stuff.
Yeah, a couple of teams there sort of reuniting, as you say, you have from that original Thor run that I know is probably in your top five comic runs of all time.
Yeah,
And,
buddy.
having Pacelli and Bendis back together involved Miles Morales. So these have been put together with care. That's what I like about them as well. They do seem to have thought through the teams, thought through the stories. I nipped down to the store quickly today. It was a big seller yesterday. We're down to sort of like our last 20 cover A's. We ordered
Oof.
huge on it, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we have variants sitting there and stuff as well. But a lot of excitement around this. And again, it's just from our store point of view and any store's point of view, it's just letting people know these are different books. Because with Batman Deadpool, it almost wasn't clear to people. And we still have people coming in and buying Batman Deadpool going, "Oh, I didn't realize this was different." So, the fact I ordered big on it in the first place is never a bad thing. Another big one this week is definitely Captain America 9. We're certainly building more and more towards, as again, Keith is my display master here. But yeah, we're definitely building up to Armageddon here. Chip Zdarsky is slowly but surely building the hype. I want to
Yep.
direct you as well to another podcast because I discovered it yesterday. It's called Direct Edition,
Uh-huh.
and Matt Fraction interviews Chip Zdarsky on it.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely. Must watch
r-
that. What's that? But
Rather
yeah,
good.
you
But
know,
yeah,
you're
Chip is positioning himself as like the guy at Marvel. We spoke about it
the
before.
Joshua Williamson, if you will.
I mean, I would have said Scott Snyder, but
Okay, fair enough.
he's sort of collating this line. He's got his own little corner. He's doing Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon, Captain America, and it's all going to lead to Armageddon, which, if you believe the hyperbole, and we don't want to believe it every time, but
Everything
it's
will
gonna
change.
but it's gonna change everything. And I don't think Chip's one for those kind of statements unless he is going to do something. He has a very silly persona, so I don't think he would do it unless he was like serious about it.
Well, I
So
mean, at the end of the day, he is under the power of the Marvel marketing department, but yeah, it does seem to be very much Latveria focused, as we can see in the background. Red Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross, preparing to invade Latveria and take Doom's weapons and such. But it's the Captain America story itself is very very cool, with Cap as part of a Shield team. entering Latveria to try and find a weapon cache of dooms before the various factions that are trying to come to power within Latveria find it. As part of that, we have a character called Salvation, who we know from the earlier issues of this series, which were set back in the past, was an old compatriot of Cap's from the Doom the early days, and so Cap has now gone rogue along with the Latvian Liberators, and who I think are the peaceful sort of kind of faction to try and take down Salvation before he can become the next Doom. Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed. We've said it plenty of times. This is up there with the best books Marvel's doing at the moment. Chip's Captain America run thoroughly enjoyed it the whole way through, and then it does feel like it's building to something, which is
Yeah.
always a great thing with any title. Another one I'm looking forward to this week. We highlighted it on previews a little while back. I'm having to throw up my iPad here and show off the cover as my issues are downstairs. But it's a book called Corpse Night. So this is released through Image Comics, written by Michael Chavez with art by Rico Renzi. So we ordered quite big on this. Image number ones recently have kind of been exploding a little bit, and I think a lot of that is just people are now starting to really embrace independent comics more and more. It's never a bad thing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm going to be reading all my pulls tonight. So, as war ravages France, a young girl named Foy lives in relative peace with her father until tragedy strikes. As Foy struggles to fend for herself, she's granted a miracle. Her father returns from the dead to protect her. Now they embark on a sacred quest, confronting murderers, wild animals, wandering armies, and black magic plaguing the countryside. As Foy comes face to face with the dark side of miracles and the secrets of the corpse night, she must question if man by her side has always been a monster. Yeah, it sounds really, really good. Michael Chavs has been a screenwriter, worked on the Conjuring franchise. There's the horror side of things, and the artist Matthew Roberts worked on Creature from the Black Lagoon, which was obviously part of the Universal Monsters line as well. So really looking forward to that. It's a little 5 issue mini series. And again, we ordered relatively big on it, so there's actually plenty on the racks if you're catching up. What
Cool.
else have we got? Why don't you take one from your list? Considering
Absolutely.
I'm pretty much
So
reading all of them as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not one number one or event issue on my list this week, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to, as I always do, the Ghost Machine Unknown War stuff. Red Coat number 17. Just great quality comic books. Ghost Machine are just it. Jeff Johns is writer, Brian Hitch is penciler, as we follow the roguishly handsome immortal soldier Simon Pure through his adventures. I haven't read this yet. Obviously, there's not a lot in the solicitation. It says, "Alas, I cannot in good conscience tell you more about this chapter of my sordid past. Least of all, before you spy issue 15 surprise so spectacular." Well, best leave it at that. So I'm really looking forward to that. That just every issue is a joy. The art, the writing, the cardstock covers, the top quality paper on all at the fine price of 3.99. Just one of the absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, I think more and more image creators are doing this now. They're going for a more expensive feeling product. I mean, we talked to Declan Shelby about it years ago. He said that it's up to you as a creator. You tell Image what you want to do. If you want a more premium product, it might cut into your profit margins a bit more, but it might mean that the audience has more faith in you giving out a quality
Yeah,
product. So,
but you know what, Alan? What it doesn't do is it doesn't raise the price on the cover to the punter. So, you have Image, you have Ghost Machine producing this every month, across
oh, that's
all
what
its
I'm saying.
books.
But
Yeah, and
they could have kept it at $4 and went, let's do a slightly cheaper paper stock, or let's do
yeah,
it as
of
cover
course. Yeah,
stock rather than card
yeah,
stock covers. So
yeah,
from the creator's point of view, it's all about them saying, well, look, it'll
yeah,
cut into our margins a bit, but we
yeah.
want we
Uh,
want the fans to, know they're
exactly.
getting a quality product.
So therefore, why can't Marvel and
In the long
DC do
game
it?
more, I think, but well,
They
we
can,
that
yeah,
brings us more into the corporate conversation
yeah,
again, certainly.
exactly. So
But speaking about cardstock covers, speaking about image, and speaking about creator owned, this is definitely a big one for me this week. And again, I ordered pretty big on this, which is called In Your Skin by Aditya Bidikar, if I can make that a bit bigger while
Hmm.
trying to negotiate this screen. There we go. Aditya Bidikar is like one of the most famous letterers in comics.
Uh-huh.
But he's now branching out and writing. Now, this is a $4.99 book, but it is 40 pages as well, so it's an oversized one. And I listened to a podcast with him not too long ago talking about this, and it just sounded great. It sounds very current right now as well because it's sort of all about um, celebrity online and people having followers and, what
Uh-huh.
do you do to garner those followers and stuff. So, so he's writing it and the artist on it is an artist under the name Som. You read Crocodile Black, didn't you? It was a
Yeah, I
Boom
did. That
series
was yeah, that was
with
very
Phil
good. That
Kenny
was
Johnson.
yeah, uh-huh.
So yeah, Som was the artist on that. So the blurb for this one is Priyanka is a Bollywood Uber fan who's been obsessed with film star Aisha Sen since she was a kid. She's watched her movies over and over and knows her dances beat for beat. But after a once in a lifetime chance to meet her idol goes wrong, and announces her impending retirement from movies, Priyanka decides that if she isn't going to live the life she's supposed to, Priyanka would be more than happy to take over for her. Bollywood body horror meets erotic fiction and writer Aditya Bidikar's debut series with rising star artist Som, a twisted exploration of celebrity culture, identity, and image that's perfect for fans of The Substance and David Cronenberg. So I've had a
Mm.
flick through this already. It's a beautiful looking book. And again, it's a cardstock cover, it's high quality paper, it's there to make an impression on you as well. So again,
Body
we're
horror
pretty big on
again.
that. Again, I mean, it's certainly proven a popular genre at the moment, to say the least.
That TV series, The Beauty, as well, has just started. It's based on a comic book.
Yeah, that was a
Uh,
comic that came out in the sort of
yeah.
what I always call Image's second golden period, the early
Mm.
2010s. I think it
Yeah.
was Jeremy Juan that worked on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Another one from me, coming from Image again, this time their Top Cow imprint by writer Simon Burks and artist Will Roberts, and that is The Thing on the Doorstep. It's one of the most interesting H.P. Lovecraft adaptations or related books, I think, that has come out in quite a wee while, and there has been a few of them. But in the very first issue, at the very very start, we saw Daniel murdering Edward in a sort of mental institution, and then we're now looking at what how we move towards that particular event. But this is issue three, and a very different Edward returns from Europe, witness to awful rituals and impossible places. But as he tries to convince Daniel of the danger ahead, something strange takes over him. Something sinister. In the coming months, Edward's condition deteriorates before Daniel and Clara's eyes, culminating in a rescue from a distant town. But halfway home, just who has Daniel got in his car? This is what they've really done is they're really grasping the nature of Lovecraftian mythos and the Cthulhu mythos and the feeling of that horror, not the body horror that you're sort of cleaving towards this month, but or this week, but just a more existential cosmic horror. It's just really excellent stuff as one friend sees another friend go down that particular plug hole. Very, very cool.
Well, I'll stick with horror theme, but it's not body horror. But yeah, the last one, I mean, I chatted about it a couple of weeks ago. The number one of the issue was one of my favorite things recently, which is a series called Narco, written by Doug Wagner and Daniel Hilliard. It's about a kid who's got a massive interest in serial killers and profiles them and does these shows and stuff on them. But anytime he suffers from narcolepsy, so anytime he's put under intense levels of stress, he essentially passes out. But issue two came out this week. Thoroughly, thoroughly loved issue one. And not to go back to variant covers again, but I did get a variant cover for this one.
Yeah,
I didn't take a cover A though, which is how it should be. But they did a variant for it, which is a take on the Hitchcock Psycho poster. Because as you know, anything Hitchcock related, I'm always going to be
you're
on
in.
board with as
Yep,
well. So yeah, I went with the variant cover for that one. But again, I didn't pick up a cover A, so I'm not part of the problem here, Keith. Not with this title anyway.
perfect, perfect. Um, all right then. From me, a bit of a Marvel one that I've been enjoying. I, as you know, have not generally been a fan of their 5 issue mini series sort of format, but it is great to see Cyclops getting some love from some great creators, and those creators are Alex Pagnadel and Roger Antonio, and they're on this Cyclops mini series. it hasn't pitted against the Reavers, classic X-Men villains. It has him without his visor. Obviously Cyclops' big weakness. He needs a visor to control his optic blasts. So some of the best Cyclops stories are whenever he can't control his optic blasts and he has to use his other skills. This guy has been trained as a leader and a soldier since he was a child. So it's really cool to see that. And now the Reavers are on the rampage. They're sporting all the best cybernetic enhancements with the newest Reaver Tearjerker finally having the power to possibly best Cyclops and him without the use of his visor to fight back as he protects a young runaway. So excellent, excellent stuff.
Yeah, lots of people
Yeah.
enjoying that. That's probably the X-Men series with the biggest number of pool people on it. Maybe it's just, I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe Cyclops has been underrepresented for a few years, or
I think so. I don't think he's got a lot of love of late, and it's great to see. And obviously, people know him not just from the fact that he has been a long time combat leader of the X-Men, but also from the cartoon series, which has recently had a resurgence with the X-Men '97.
yeah. And then there was
So
that Doomsday trailer as well, where he was seen in it very quickly
yes,
as
absolutely.
well. So that's maybe put him in
Again,
the public
again,
consciousness a
visorless
bit.
in that trailer.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he's not very good at
So.
keeping his visor, is he? Maybe is
Well,
this a character
well,
flaw
you know
or
what? Whenever you give a character a weakness, it should be exploited. So that was his
yeah,
weakness. It's the same as Kryptonite turning up every time Superman's on the scene.
yeah.
So another couple for me. I think you're through your list, right?
Through my list, but certainly the one at the end of your list is up there for me this
One for
week.
both of us. So I'll give you this one just for now. You know that anything with a Rocketeer name on it has me. So this is by our buddy and friend of the podcast, John Layman, and artist by Jacob Edgar. But obviously they have credited the Rocketeer creator Dave Stevens on the cover as well, which you absolutely have to do. The man was just a legend. Sadly, long departed. So this is for the Rocketeer, the Island #2. It has Cliff Seacourt, the Rocketeer. In 1937, Amelia Earhart went missing on her flight around the world, and 1 year later, the Rocketeer is on a mission to find and rescue her. There's been a rocky voyage. The Rocketeer and his crew dock on a mysterious island in the area where Amelia was last heard of, and immediately they discover strange creatures that could just be real dinosaurs. While facing giant carnivorous monsters, has to be better than staying on the ship with Betty and her cheesecake photographer Margot. So this is the constant back and forth between Cliff and his on again, off again lover Betty, who is of course based on Betty Page, but she's with another guy at the minute, and all has happened to end up on the same ship. And the other people on the ship are sort of variants of Popeye and Tintin and Lois Lane and a variety of others. So it's very, very cool. So yeah, John Layman, who we know from Chew largely, and Jacob Edgar from, you remember the Plastic Man No More series a couple of years
Yeah, yeah.
ago? So yeah, so this is just a great series
Just
based
all
on.
keeps coming around to body horror, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
that
well,
Plastic Man No More was very horror, body horror heavy.
so yeah, so that was I just love it. It's just great pulpy goodness whenever it's done properly. And lastly, then, the one you referred to, The Peril of the Brutal Dark,
Oof,
and
look
Ezra
at that.
Kane mystery #3. Really looking forward to this part of Vertigo's, the new Vertigo line, and just absolutely brilliant. First two issues have been class by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips, again, friends of the pod. And the Brutal Dark is closing in. Ezra Kane meets face to face with the Brutal Dark, but it ain't on his terms. His snooping around the Clockworkers Union has finally put his investigations into the shadowy sex radar. But a dash of good fortune comes Ezra's way when reporter Sandy Williams gets a lead on the Brutal Dark's agenda. She's an old flame, though, is working together really on the cards for these two. So this is great Indiana Jones noir stuff. It's just brilliant. Just brilliant. Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, top of the list every single time it comes out for me
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
just, as you said, it combines that love of pulp heroes with noir, with hints of Indiana Jones, and yeah, absolutely loving that series. I push it as hard as I can in store to people because that's definitely up there with the best stuff around at the moment. But yeah, we'll sort of look to be finishing off. We'll look at what we have been sort of reading over the last week or so, what we've really enjoyed, what we'd certainly recommend. And what's good about this little list here, looking at it, there's a couple of jumping on points. There's a couple of bits and pieces that it's still easy enough to get from the start if you want to do it that way. But there are one or two as well which bring things to a conclusion. But for me, without a doubt, the best book of the last couple of weeks, and I know I'm higher on this book than you are, and that's absolutely fine. But Absolute Batman 19, I think, will probably be up there with the best issues of anything I've read this year.
Hmm.
Reason I'm loving the series so much at the moment, outside of all the sort of artificial reinterpretation of characters or whatever, there's always at least three plots going on in every issue that drive the story forward. So in this issue, you get introduced to the Scarecrow. This iteration of the Scarecrow is terrifying.
Yeah, he is
Absolutely
absolutely.
brilliantly done. The Straw Man, the Wandering Man, whatever you want to call him, uh, basically takes up the start of this issue, and then he just intermittently comes in at little parts.
Yeah, and still not a
Especially,
notion what his abilities or powers are.
no, not at all. I mean,
Yeah,
there's certainly theories there. Does the power come from the cigar that he's smoking? That's a little bit like him infecting you with fear toxin.
yeah,
But like, there's a little part on it later on where something monumental happens in the issue, which I know we're talking about it after it's come out, but I won't spoil. But where he's across the way and Batman can literally see him in a dark building, and you
uh-huh.
just see the cigar light up,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
so
Absolutely.
so incredible. But that's, as I say, there's a huge moment in this issue that you would not expect, like 19 issues into a Batman book.
Yeah. Now
Uh,
this is the wonder of the things that you can do and the more long form storytelling you can do whenever you know that your series
hundred
is a
percent.
long series and isn't going to get cancelled after 8 or 10
A
issues.
hundred
You know
percent.
what I mean?
This,
So
and I know that a Batman book will always be more of a home run than most books and comics. In terms of knowing you have an audience for a long form storytelling. But because this was so dramatically different, I mean, when Absolute launched, there was no guarantee this was going to be, pardon me, anywhere near as successful as it is.
mm,
But I said to everybody in store, the thing is, it obviously launched with so much style. But if there wasn't substance to it, it wouldn't
yeah.
consistently
And
be
I mean if
growing.
there wasn't support from the publisher. So
Yeah.
Scott Snyder has obviously got the publisher on board and, has said, here's my plan for 20 issues, here's my plan for 40 issues, so knowing that he's not going to get screwed over and having that comfort, then he's able to write, you know, a
Yeah.
longer story, and then you're able to start bringing in different threads because you've got the time and you've got the space to breathe.
But you can also do callbacks as well, because the first thing I did after reading this issue was pick up the trades and bring them home. So I'm going to read it from the start again. So there was people pointing out that if you go back to when Bruce's dad is killed, there's a panel that's all scarecrows, or that's all
Yeah,
crows
okay.
flying about.
Right.
So is this all linked? And you
Yeah,
obviously saw
yeah,
the thing
very
with the
cool.
file and this and that.
Uh-huh.
And that's without us even talking about, the other home run of the issue, which is starting to introduce the Robins, which is being done obviously in a very different way to normal.
Yep.
This Bruce Wayne of this universe is a young Bruce Wayne, so there's no way he could have cultivated these relationships with a Dick
Yep.
Grayson and a Jason Todd and a whatever. But just every time a new issue of this comes out, I cannot wait to read it. It is top of the pile. It is
Uh
literally the delivery comes through, I unpack it, and I'm like, do I have 15 minutes to
yeah.
myself here? I might just read this.
And not for the last time today. We're talking about Slade Wilson as well, who was introduced in this
Yeah,
particular
and the way they
episode.
introduce him is
Yeah.
class, and
Uh-huh.
he's obviously involved with the Robin system, but even showing how he makes himself up and there's
Yeah, it
there's
was
so
very
much packed
cool.
into
It
every
was
issue. I
very
just
cool.
think, and
Yeah.
anytime you've got Dragata on it, like I love the stand-in artists, they're always great, but Dragata is like the soul of this series just as much as Sider is. So anytime I see him drawing it, straight home run. So
Sweet.
unsurprisingly, the orders for 19 were bigger than the orders for number one,
Oh, very
which is
good.
just, and I've said this to people in the shop. The only other title I can think like that has done this was The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Started out with this level of audience, but just kept growing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the power of, as you say, of long form storytelling
Yep.
and giving your story room to breathe.
Exactly. Cool.
Yeah, loved it.
Um, so for me, one of the best books this week, or last week that I really enjoyed was Nightwing
Just
137.
look at that cover. That is a
Yeah.
70s movie poster right there.
Yeah, 100% by Dan Waters and Dennis Cohen. This was The Bridge. What's really interesting with the last couple of issues is they've both been sort of standalone issues but connected. So
Yeah.
they're telling stories that are street level stories, but very much mixed with the folklore of Bloodhaven and the folklore of Bloodhaven and the people of Bloodhaven. And there is an overarching storyline, but you could read each of these issues. You could read each of these issues individually. So really enjoying this. There's a nice darkness to it as well. And Batman appears in this one, but Dick very much is like, all right, back to Gotham. Bloodhaven's mine.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that part of this
Yeah,
issue. Actually, I like it's always so easy for like Batman and Dick to get on. They have similar ideas on justice and they've known each other for years and they're like brothers, but brothers also do sometimes squabble. You know, they do
yeah, and
sometimes have
also
differing points of view.
Dick's going through a thing. They very much highlight, you know, the difference between the two of them. Batman analyzes, but Nightwing feels.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very cool stuff, which he considers a strength, but Matt Bam considers his weakness.
Yeah, I mean, this was part of the whole sort of jumping on points that DC did a couple of weeks ago, which was great. You know, the previous issue to the one Keith just showed, we ordered big on it, so we have it in store. So if you're looking at jumping on point for Nightwing, this is a good one.
Yeah, that was
In
the road,
ter
wasn't it?
yes,
That
yes.
was the road.
So
This was the bridge. Yeah,
the road and
cool.
the bridge, and the Dennis Cowan seems to be the sort of artist for the
Yeah,
foreseeable, from what I
I really
understand.
enjoy that modern day folklore. The folklore of a modern city.
Yeah,
Very interesting stuff. So
and the
cool stuff.
history embedded into it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, sticking with DC as well. I mean, Deathstroke had its second issue last week as well. I mean, Deathstroke for me at the moment, and again, I've said it before, but it's a 90s action movie in the best possible
Oh, it
way.
is. Yeah, absolutely.
It's high stakes. It's a cool protagonist who's kind of a hero, kind of an anti-hero, you know,
It's
in terms of you're following him and wanting him to get out of these situations.
There's a sniff of John Wick. There's a sniff of John Woo.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a sniff of yeah, your big budget, nonsense 90s action movies.
But there's a nice little mystery running through it as
There
well,
is,
because
yeah.
obviously he's lost his handler. There's talk about stuff
He's
back
lost
to
his
his
fortune, he's lost
yeah
his resources.
yeah, but he
Yeah,
clearly hasn't
uh-huh.
lost his instinct in how to kill people in a cool
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, really really enjoying Deathstroke. I mean, it's Tony Flex writing it, who was sort of most well known for doing like Stray Dogs and
Yeah,
Feral and stuff like that.
Uncanny
And then
Valley.
the artist, it's Carmine Di Giandomenico, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Who I believe was the artist on Batman the Night with Chip Zdarsky. And again, I love
Yep,
that art style. So
yep,
yeah,
yep.
big bombastic, just really, really fun.
Cool. No more DC for me today, but one that I really enjoyed was a long time coming. James Tynion and Michael Deilinas's Wind, The Power of the Blood, and that's number 8. That's the finale of the series that
Yeah.
has run through 3 different arcs, and we've watched the character of Wind grow from this young orphan into a hero. We've watched the world build around Pipe Town and the serial. We've watched the history build, and it was just a really satisfying end conclusion to a story that we've been following now for, I guess, the better part of 5 years. So
Started
yeah,
off
this
as a
is
surprise release that time. I
yeah, it did,
remember it was
yeah.
just a new James Tynion book, but you knew nothing about it.
Yeah, and I think it was 3 sets of 8, wasn't it? Three eight
Yeah.
issue, and yeah, something you don't very often find in comics: a start, a middle, and an end.
Yeah, obviously the last one will still have to hit trade yet, but we've got the first two trades in store.
Yeah,
It's almost Tinian doing an all ages book as well, which
it's
he
almost
doesn't.
yeah, it's a wee bit young adult. There's a
Yeah,
lot of it is a wee bit young adult, but there are some more mature themes in it, for sure. But it's very very cool, very cool.
yeah. Because obviously most of his stuff it tends to veer very older audience. Department of
Yeah,
Truth, something's killing the children, etc., etc.
yeah,
So
really good
this is
sort of almost fantasy world, steampunky fantasy world. Very very cool stuff.
Well, I'll throw one more quickly in just for DC, just to finish off for the day. Well, it's actually through DC Vertigo, but definitely worth talking about because this book is great. It's a wee bit of a slow burn, but in the best possible way. We're now 3 issues in, and that book is Bleeding Hearts, which was actually the first DC Vertigo book to release. And this is written by Dennis Camp with art by Stipian Moran. And I always describe it to people as it's The Walking Dead, but from the zombie's point of view. And the zombie is actually cognizant. It can talk, it can think. And the main character is a character called Poke, who is basically losing his taste for human flesh. But he does actually need it to substantiate and like live and all the rest.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but by issue 3, basically in issue 2, Poke helped this human and their child out called Mama and the rabbit. Mama and Rabbit, I should say. But of course, by issue three, Rabbit still, or Mama still doesn't trust the zombie just quite so much. It's like she starts going into these theories of, oh, he's just helping us survive to fatten us up so that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
can
yeah.
enjoy more of a feast. But like you find it in the issue, Poke is even lying to his zombie friends and being like, oh, I don't know where they went and this and that. It's a really, really interesting book. The art in it's great as well. And it feels very different from the other Vertigo books, you know, Peril of the
Yeah.
Brutal Dark and
And they all feel
so
very
forth.
different from all the other DC books to the point that, as I've always struggled with Nice House on the Lake, which is a DC book which is now under the Vertigo. It started off Black Label, didn't it? And then they actually went, actually, Black Label is Vertigo. Let's stop kidding ourselves. You know, and with the Brutal Dark, whenever I was separating my books, whenever I, obviously whenever you sell them, you've got the, two books and one bag and board. And for reading, I split them up. And then whenever I'm filing, I put them back together, two books in one. But they normally end up in the independent pile, the Marvel pile, and the DC pile. And I automatically always put Brutal Dark and Nice House in the
Independent.
independent pile because they don't feel like DC books at all.
Yeah. No, that's the greatness of Vertigo, and it always was in the past as well. You know, it feels like its own universe, and you know, it's not like you have to be a superhero fan. You know, it does bring people in who are not necessarily superhero fans. So yeah, the Vertigo launches are off to a great start. I think all the books have been really, really strong. End of Life is another one. Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh on that one as well. So, and they're all looking healthy in people's pull lists as well. So people are responding and sticking to them and going from there. So, but yeah, Bleeding Hearts is awesome. I know it's not one you're on yourself personally, but if you ever have like a quiet week, I'll throw you my issues and you can
Yeah.
get a bit caught up on it because it is very, very good.
Cool. For me then, one from Bad Idea Comics. Robert Venditti, who has been all over DC for a long time, and artist Trevor Hairsine, who did a lot of deceased stuff and done some X-Men stuff, has started this series, which is now two issues in, called The Ordained, and that follows Father Roy, who is a priest, former Special Forces Marine, uh, who now is a priest in New York, and crime boss Cormac Byrne, who almost died, was given the last rites, and revealed a lot of stuff to Father Roy, then miraculously recovered, and now is gone, all right, we need to kill Father Roy because he knows too much. So, but without realizing that Father Roy initially was who he is. So they have released in the intervening between issues two and three an issue zero called Ordained Special, The Machine. And the Machine is an assassin hired, well, I don't know, I would call him a thug, but a hired assassin who Cormac Byrne has hired to go after Father Roy. So this introduces him. So sometimes you see these of issue zeros or whatever, and you're like, what's the point in this? But I can see why they've done this because this is a great, great story. So yeah, lovely, lovely cover. So it is very nice. And
Jorge Furnace, I believe that's the same cover artist as Nightwing.
yeah, absolutely, you're right. Uh, So yeah, when his hired thugs fail to take down Father Roy, crime boss Cormac Byrne calls in the only man who can trust to finish the job, the ruthless, hulking killer for hire known only as the Machine. An unrestrained force of blue-collar brutality, the Machine doesn't hesitate and doesn't stop until the work is done. Meet the man tasked with cleaning up Byrne's mess and in this brutal, no prisoners one shot, and witness how the Machine takes care of his business. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Great stuff.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Bad Idea, I mean, the last one for me this week, which I really, really enjoyed, is a book called The Hab, brand new number one. Written by
Yep.
Joshua Dysart. There's a couple of different artists on it, but I felt the art style actually was really consistent the whole way through it. So David Lapham was an artist on it, of course, known for Stray Bullets. Bill Sienkiewicz was an artist on it. Jacob Phillips was an artist on it, and I believe did some of the coloring as well. But yeah, this was a brand new number one. It was a nice, big, thick, chunky one as well. It was
Was,
48
yep.
pages,
Hmm.
plenty to sink into, and it's essentially all about a billionaire who knows the world is going to end and has therefore built their own little hub almost
He's an
to
awful prick. He's an awful
Oh, he
prick.
really, really is. I mean, show me a
He's a
nice
billionaire.
billionaire.
Yeah.
Show me a nice billionaire. But you know, it's all about the inner circle of people he brings to this hub who are going to survive. He's got a daughter he brings with him, but the mum doesn't come with him. He's now got a different wife. And there's lots of tragedy that seems to have happened in getting the daughter there that they obviously align back to a couple of times. But
She's
he
not in a
thinks
good
he
place generally.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But he's consistently drugging her and drugging the new wife and all. There's all these different relationships and stuff set up on him. But one of the big sort of things for it is that they've got it all set up in a way where they'll always have continuous fresh water coming through.
From
But by the end of the issue,
an ancient glacial pool, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll be self-sustaining for them, but obviously by the end of the issue, that's not always going to be the case.
Mm.
Lovely cover to it as well. It was Charlie Adler, of course, Walking Dead royalty, who did the cover, which really sets the tone as well. But Bad Idea in general, I'm really enjoying their stuff. They're not
Yeah.
releasing loads of books, but they're releasing quality books. So Ordained, obviously, you'd mentioned The Hab being another one. Planet Death being another one. So there's
Yeah.
some really
Yeah.
interesting stuff they're doing here. I'll be curious to see once they start releasing trades how
Yeah.
they do those. So I definitely think it's a publisher worth keeping an eye on.
Cool. Swinging over to the Marvel side for me, really enjoying the Mortal Thor, by Al Ewing and fantastic artist, legend Pasquale Ferry. So we have Thor. Obviously, the first 25 issues were Al Ewing's Immortal Thor, and these last 9 issues have been the Mortal Thor as Thor. As we know him, is on Earth in a mortal form, that of Sigurd Jarlson, the form that he adopted many decades ago, and he's living as a construction worker from from Scandinavia, and we still have Dario Agger, the Minotaur, sort of his corporation after him, and sending various killers, superheroes after him, including Radioactive Man. So we have this mortal who has this hammer that he ties to his hand by a rope, and he's almost using, Thor's tactics while being immortal and not having any powers. So it's really cool stuff actually. And at the start of this issue, we had Sigurd dreaming of Thor. So Thor's, the spirit of Thor is trying to make connection with him to tell him who he really is. Loki's in there as a child as well. There's some really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. So yeah.
I
Also
mean,
enjoyed.
you may as well stick with Marvel there and tell us, for those who have stayed with us this whole episode, tell us about how you have dropped the book
Absolutely.
and now suddenly it's become great.
I know I dropped Uncanny X-Men there not so long ago, last week actually. I was just so just the price increase for the 25th issue drop, 5.99 is definitely a cut off for me in terms of issue prices. Not a fan, not a fan. And I dropped it after that issue. It just wasn't doing anything for me. I've persevered with it, and I thought, right, this isn't great, so drop that. And then this week, or last week, the issue 26 came out. So this is the Uncanny X-Men. This is the team that are living in the Deep South by Gail Simone and Luciano Vecchio, and looking after four new mutants called the Outsiders. And this week, the Uncanny X-Men 26 and the Uncanny X-Men Annual came out by the same creators, more or less. And they were both really entertaining. So, aye, what can you do? You
So
know,
I'm waiting on a late night message after a whiskey going, oh, just put me back on
put me back on that again. I try to get out, you
it.
pull me back in. But
Every time.
yeah,
That's how
so
comics work.
that's the crack there. Anyway.
hmm And then one last one you want to bring back in? We may as well finish on a
Oh
nice
yeah,
strong image book.
yeah. Are you reading Die Reloaded?
Am I reading
For
Diary Loaded? Of
sure.
course I am. Kieran
That
Gillen, Stephanie
is
Hans.
follow up to the original Die, just phenomenal. I feel like it's really hitting its pace. They've laid down they've reintroduced us to the world. They're slowly reintroducing us or introducing us to the new characters. And this issue, which, was just wow, this changed everything. You know, that was a shock and a surprise. So yeah, really enjoying Die. Obviously, it appeals to the role player in me, but also the comic fans. So just great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, no, just great storytelling in general, and it's always a great title to recommend to people because if they miss Die the first time around, trades are always in store, and it was such a great self-contained story. If they never continued it, it wouldn't have been the end of the world or anything. But they've done it in a really interesting way
They
and
really
kept the
have.
quality just as high. So
Big
it's
style.
it's one of those sequels where you're just like, this could be just as good as the original here. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
great book. As I say, just
Cool.
there's lots around at the moment, lots of really good stuff. And lots of great stuff to look forward to in the coming weeks. So, but we'll call it there for today. Again, just a quick reminder: Free Comic Book Day coming up first Saturday in May. Get down the earlier the better because it will be busy. And yeah, check back in with us next week where we will have another episode going through all of the stuff in the comic world. So I hope you guys enjoyed this as ever. Feel free to leave any comments or recommend the show on to few people and subscribe and follow us and just to let us know
Please
people
do.
out there are listening.
Hmm.
But as ever, good chat with you, good sir.
Yeah,
And
100%. That was great fun.
I'll look forward to next week's.
All right.